right? Let's look at how the world is moving. Let's look at the general people around us and so forth. Is there anyone who's looking at the world right now and thinking, gee, there's too much critical thinking going on? I don't think anyone's coming to that conclusion. I think what we're all seeing is a decay and a necessity for more critical thinking rather than less. And unfortunately, artificial intelligence is getting in the way. As much as AI can be used for some very positive things, I'm not against all uses of AI. There's some very positive aspects to what it can do for us. But in terms of critical thinking skills, we know from many of the early studies that are coming out that it's killing people's ability to think critically. So if you have a lot of employees and they're using a lot of ChatGPT and other AIs, okay, then just realize that they might be producing a faster answer to something or a faster email, but they're producing the same faster email that everyone else is going to produce using the same AI or similar. They're producing the same report that everyone else is going to produce. They're not thinking critically. But I'll tell you something that's even more terrifying about AI. Okay. So they did some study of college students, and one group of students was able to use AI to write their papers, and another group of students was not allowed to use AI to write their papers. There are a lot of outcomes from that, mostly that favored the group that did not use AI. But the group that used AI, and this is the really scary part, actually showed lower brain activity, not just while they were in the writing process, but for long periods after the writing process of their papers, they still showed diminished brain activity because they had relied instead on ChatGPT as a crutch. Right? So any muscle that we don't use in our body atrophies and it grows weak. The same thing is really literally true with the mind. And the brain is a series of wires and circuits that it builds. So every thought you have has been built there's wiring for that in your brain. Mm-hmm. But if you don't use that wiring, your brain overwrites it very quickly and uses it for something else instead. So we can either wire people's brains to think critically, or you can wire people's brains to rely on AIs to not think as much. Which do you want for yourself? Which do you want for your kids? Which do you want for your employees? Because really, all of our fates depend on those kinds of decisions, and they're very high stakes right now. So that's why I think more than ever, what we are seeing is that people are realizing, especially business leaders, that AI is a threat to critical thinking in their employees. That can do other things. There are great things that it can do for us, and it should. But it's in this respect, it's a terrible threat, and employers are recognizing it very quickly. And that's why the need for critical thinking is becoming more palpable now that AI has hit rather than before it. We're actually getting much more solicitation for seminars and workshops and so forth than we did prior to AI, because people are realizing, oh my God, I can't let my ability to think, I can't let my kids' ability to think, I can't let my employees' ability to think atrophy and die because we're able to generate a report with AI. It's not helping us overall.
It seems like your industry right now is probably the industry that people should put money into because it's only going to go up. I mean, it feels like critical thinking goes down as technology goes up. It feels like because of social media, because of the introduction of like the phones and computers and all that kind of stuff, start to reduce the ability to think critically. So it doesn't feel like technology is something that we could stop. So what is the counteractive actions that people can take to build up that critical thinking, but still implement technology, AI, and the speed of things that needs to be done?
Yeah, that's a perfect question, really, and I'm glad you asked it. It's well thought out because we do see exactly that. What we see is that the rise of technology decreases critical thinking, generally speaking. That started with radio. It was not too significant with radio, but it became much more significant with TV. And then, many years later, suddenly we have the internet and social media, and now we have AI. And each one has a progressively negative effect on critical thinking skills. For parents, my advice is keep your kids off any electronic devices as much as possible for as long as possible. Okay, so if they once in a while they're playing a game on an iPad or doing something like that, is anything negative going to happen to their brain on a limited basis? Absolutely not. If that's what they're doing most of the day, then certainly you're degrading their capacity to build critical thinking skills and important brain function. But for everybody else, the idea is really to use what we have, which is instruction in critical thinking, and to develop those critical thinking skills that we all have them, and we all have the capacity for them, but to develop them in a conscious, dedicated, scientifically proven way. If you don't want to do that, which is optimal, then a second opportunity would be simply try to do a lot more reading and writing and conversation without any technology in between. Those are all brain positive activities. They don't necessarily teach you to think critically per se. That's a very specific thing that we have to teach people how to do. But they are positive for building brain function and neural pathways and so on and so forth. And you're right. We're building out right now, and a lot of people want to invest, and we're looking for investors to build out some major projects right now with respect to critical thinking for kids in the world and businesses and so on and so forth. But yeah, it's a very good question because technology is a threat. It has advantages as well. I don't want to get rid of a lot of medical technologies that we've developed over the years. They're great. We want them. And there are lots of things that we can do with media that's wonderful, like the conversation that we're having now. This is an exceptional use of social media. It's great, right? But that's not necessarily all of the uses. So let's be judicious in our personal lives in terms of how we use technology and why.
You use Zoom as a metaphor for success.
Um, Success is in part about being able to get exposed to other people's ideas and perspectives and interact with those. So that's how we're using Zoom.
Nicely done. So that's how Zoom is like success.